Joshua 9, let's call this one Common Sense and subtitle it A Covenant, because a covenant is the portion of the title that is going to literally come out of the text. And quite simply, this is a situation in which the children of Israel are conned into making a bad deal. But as tempting as it can be to point fingers at them, if you have ever been tired and exhausted with the things that you have had to deal with in life, you will know that there are times when your levels of common sense are at their peak and times when they are at their low. And the children of Israel have been engaged in warfare that they have honestly described as toil, which is the way that the scouts who went into Ai literally described the reason why they wanted to send in only a small force into Ai, which seemed to be a smaller obstacle. And so even though they can be faulted because they made a mistake, they can't necessarily be faulted to the degree we all share the tendency to have lapses in judgment. And so as they're going into chapter 9, they are moving forward past their recovery from their stumble at Ai, looking to get back on course. And instead of facing a physical adversary, they're facing an adversary that's more cunning. And they're going to make a really wise decision, meaning the Gibeonites. They've seen all the other nations before them fail, even if they put up a little bit of resistance in the way of Ai, winning one battle before eventually losing their city. And they decided to go a different route. And in a lot of ways, for the first time, it helped me see a resemblance to what happened with Rahab when, in understanding how everybody in her city's heart melted, she chose to go a unique route and take an opportunity that was given to her. Likewise, the Gibeonites, even though they aren't going to seem to be potentially as virtuous in their motives as Rahab, they're going to be cunning because they're going to realize they can't get different results doing the same old things that everyone else is doing. And so even though the Israelites aren't going to be able to make a healthy covenant with them, they can probably learn from the Gibeonites going forward. And so in this circumstance, the mistake they make is, as we said, in presuming that just because they're tired, it's going to be okay to take the Gibeonites at face value without doing a diligent search to find out whether or not the things that they were saying, which couched in some parts flattery, some parts evasiveness, and in some parts bribe, are a reflection of the genuine truth, which they weren't. So understand this. Joshua is just as fooled as the rest of the nation, even though the recovery from their defeated Ai involved reading the entire law to the people of Israel once again, understanding that he himself was under a command to study it diligently, and understanding that the people were under a command to teach it diligently to their children. What we're seeing here is what I was taught as a child is the difference between book sense and common sense. Because even though they had finally gotten into what appears to be the habit of studying the law of the Lord, they're being tested here by people whose cunning is discerning whether or not they can make the proper application of their book learning to a real life situation. And so in this chapter, the presumption isn't necessarily in ignoring the law of the Lord, making too much of past success, or assuming too much of your individual gifts and talents, as much as it is the degree to which, no matter how much we've studied, life can present us with situations that make it tough to discern the proper application of the knowledge that God has given us. Which is why we often say his best to you as you go forward in him. This time, praying for the wisdom to make the proper application of the knowledge that God has given us.